Happy birthday to us. Happy birthday to us. Thank you Microsoft and Asobo. Happy birthday to us. MSFS 2020. So, 18th of August 2021. It's been 1 year, and what a year it's been. We've had steps forwards, steps backwards. Sometimes the step backwards are more than the steps forwards. Sometimes the forwards are more than the backwards. But in general, we've ended up with a much better sim game than we had when we started. And I call it a sim game because people are still arguing a year later whether it's a sim or a game. And they just don't understand. It's a sim if you treat it like a sim. And if you treat it like a game, it's a game. It's quite simple. So the interface has changed quite a bit. There have been some massive improvements, some not so good improvements, some detractions, and some just, amazing things that have worked really well. So thinking back to a year ago, and my flights, I did 4 test flights, I think, from Norwich to Amsterdam. So I'm going to do 3 flights today. I'm going to do one. I'm going to recreate those first flights in the A320. I'm going to do a fly round of Norwich, which I did on the same day, and I'm going to revisit Lake Garda, I think. I might do that for the third one, or I might change it to something else. You'll have to see when you look at the video. So today we're going to do 3 videos to mark the birthday of Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. And the changes we've had have been pretty good. Let's just concentrate first of all on the GUI, the graphic interface that we get. First of all, we have to go in the map. So let's look at some of the other options we've got here. This is new. This is sort of new, and that's the same. Just general news about what's going on. But you'll notice these buttons have changed because we've got the Xbox in now. It came in a few weeks ago, and since the Xbox came in, things have had to change a bit because, of course, they don't necessarily have a mouse and keyboard. So they only have their buttons on their controller, so to allow them to do things, they have to have these square things to make it look like they know what they're doing. I guess if it didn't have a square thing around it, they wouldn't know what they were doing. I don't know. First of all, the map. When we first had the map a year ago, all the land was just big green blobs of stuff that just weren't right. It was terrible. I fly a lot to Sweden, and when you go to Sweden you look at the islands off the coast of Stockholm, they were just terrible. All these blobs, they were just big green blobs, and none of them matched the actual shapes of the island. And if you've ever been there, you'll know that it's a nightmare because you've got all these little lakes everywhere, and a lot of stuff is identified by the lakes when you're flying in, so to not know where you were flying to was a nightmare. You could sort of generally guess where things were, but this is just so much better. It's a proper view, it's a satellite view, you can see where things are, you can make your route work, and it's great. So in the early days, we had some of the issues we had were when you tried to make like a custom, it wouldn't work, but now it works beautifully. And these islands in particular, I go to this particular island a lot, and to not be able to know where it was just a nightmare. So you can see from here, you can see all the lakes, got the outlines of that, and I'll try and find an early view. This is all just like a big green blob with irregular shaped edges that don't even match the outlines of the islands. So you never knew which island you were looking at. It could be this one, it could be that one, it could be these ones. Absolute nightmare. This is just 10,000 times better. Another good thing is when you actually create something, when you go back, you want it to be the same, don't you? Of course, anyone would. But in the old days, when we first got it, no, that was terrible. So I'm going to set my starting point as the gate 1. They call it ramp 1, but whatever. So now, I'm going to set my arrival. Bearing in mind we're doing Norwich to Schiphol. Yeah, it's got me on 27. We'll do an RLS to 27. Okay, that's got us set up. Normally we'd go a bit further south before we turn across the ocean, but I'm happy with that route, that's not a problem. There are some wind farms off the coast, and we generally fly over the ones just before you get to Ipswich. So that's going to be our route. So now I would save that. And if something went wrong while you wanted to refly it, when you went back and you reloaded the thing, it wouldn't have you set at the gate. It would put you at the end of the runway, which is a bit annoying for people who are just flying. It's a bit rude to suddenly appear on the end of the runway. Someone might blame me on taking off. So it's much better now. It saves where you actually set your departure from. Generally, 9 times out of 10 it works, and it actually saves the gate you want to leave from rather than erroneously putting you at some weird starting point. But one of the things it does do is if you change anything, it just does a direct flight from A to B, and it resets everything basically. So that needs a bit of a fix, but apart from that, it's 10 times better now. Absolutely brilliant. Flight conditions, they work now, everything's fine. There were complaints about there being no live traffic, but of course there's been no live traffic because of COVID and no one was flying anywhere. So we're flying IFR, we're going over there. That's all looking good to me, and we're ready to go. The KLM flight that does go from Norwich to Amsterdam normally leaves in the morning, not the evening. And the return flight is normally about 5 o'clock, so we just missed that by an hour. And they don't fly an A320, they fly the Embraer, I believe. I honestly can't remember, it's been a while since I flew it. It's a very nice little journey, 15 minutes up, 15 minutes down. Absolutely brilliant. You even get a drink and a pack of nuts. So what else has changed? So mainly the clouds. They've been through a few iterations. They went better, they went worse, they went better, they went worse, and now they're much better. The fraps though, the faps, they're so much better nowadays. I used to get 19, 20 if I was lucky, now they're about 30. Not so good once you get outside the aircraft, but inside the aircraft it's much easier to use. Now this is the A320neo by Fly-by-Wire. The reason I use that is because the stock A320 is not so good. By the way, just get started up. The stock one had virtually no systems working. None of the switches, only the switches worked, about a fifth of them did. Didn't even have the seatbelt switch to tell the passengers to put the seatbelts on, and that's one of the most important parts of a simulated flight, is when the pilot actually gets to tell the passengers to sit down and put the belts on. You know you're almost ready to go. And to have none of the MFD pages worked, it was terrible. I mean, we were used to the A321 in FSX, and that had all the MFD pages working, all the knobs and switch worked. It was a beautiful little aircraft and it worked really well. And to suddenly have the absolute graphical superiority of this, but to have nothing work in the aircraft, well, that was more a game than a sim then. Of course, the fly-by-wire people were started just under a year ago, sorry, and they made things so much better. In those first 2 months, I guess the first month I flew a few flights on the first week. I just got annoyed with it because it just didn't have the things it should have. And Fly-by-Wire made it so I could fly again and enjoy it. That was absolutely amazing. So yeah, what else has happened? Well, we've had a few bits and pieces that I'll discuss as we're in our flight, but mostly when I first had this, the taxiways were all the wrong way round. Let's have a VFR map and I'll show you what I mean. So when we first got it, they were named going this way. So A, B, C, D. And when I used to fly there back in 2008, it was A, B, C, D. So instead of going clockwise, they were going anti-clockwise. I put a report in and then renamed them. It's been brilliant. So this is now the correct name, and you know where you're going. In those first days I said, take taxiway B. I just started off, I took taxiway B. And then they're like, no, that's not the right way, mate. Where are you going? I go, no, this is the right way. But no, it wasn't according to the sim. So, yeah. But there have been massive improvements and fixes to airports and stuff, so that's really good to see. So I'll just spend a few minutes doing my checklist, and then we'll get back to you. Parking brake is on. Flaps are up. Spoiler is retracted disarmed. Weather radar is off. Winch shear is off. Engine masses 1 and 2 are off. Engine selection is normal. Thrust levers are at idle. Gear is down and wipers are set to off. So I'll just carry on with the cockpit prep. Batteries 1 and 2 are on. External power is on. Accurate pressure, as you need to check. Pressure is low, and the electrical switch. Brake pressure is in the green. Cockpit lights don't need setting. Display brightness we'll do in a second. We'll start with the APU fire test. And engines 1 and 2 fire tests. Cargo tests. And CVO. Okay. Crew supply is on. Days are on to nav. Exterior light. No smoking is on. Emergency is on. And seatbelts are on. Cabin window heat is auto. Set to on. AP availability is yes, it will be available once we've started it. So AP is not on at the moment, so we're carrying on to the ECAM page. We have power to where we need. Batteries 1 and 2 off and on. Fuel pumps are off. Fire tests are done. Flight devices 1 and 2. Set and on constraint. Barometer set.
Norwich Airport information Yankee 1700 Zulu. Wind 241 at 22. Visibility 6. Sky condition clear. Temperature 19er.
So barometer is set. EFIS. Constraints are 10, all set. FCU. Well, not bother with that for a second. and radio is on and set. So we get onto the MCDU, I guess. We are out of date by a week, but we have to wait for some update for that, unfortunately. I have put in the cruise, but it's not going to happen like that. We're going to ascend to flight level 34. By the time we get to 28,000 feet, we'll probably get told to descend again because it's a very steep straight down. We are 597 and 950, 50.2. So our sheet already tells us we are 17.8% of gravity, so that should be good to go. Edit page 2, fuel planning, block is confirmed, everything's okay. Yeah, 9.5 fuel on board, looking good. We're going to take off the flaps 2, and we're going to use a 0.2 up for the wheel. So basically it sets it to, as we take off, it'll automatically set to that. Gives a bit of a nose up. Once that's in, we should get our automatic calculations for V1, VR and V2. We're not going to use flex, we're going to use manual. Well, we don't know what it is in Amsterdam, so we're just going to know that it's roughly 5,000 feet for transition altitude. And we're going to use a radio height of 500. Radio height above ground is basically tells us exactly how we are above the ground that we're above, rather than using to sea level, because of course you can only get 2,500 feet above sea level. So you need to know where the ground is, not where the sea is. Yep, we're in 27. Seagull, Lamzo, Leadbone, Lamzo, Seagull. And right down. There we go, 27. .550. So we overfly the airfield, then we loop back and land from the east to west. But it's actually 267. Generally landings and runways are to the nearest 10. So transition is 3000. So 111.55. Okay, that's MCDU set. So we have alignment with the GPS. We can see that when the GPS isn't aligned, this screen is just a big red message saying no. So we know that's all okay and lined up. So a quick check through. So MCD is set, RadNav is set, and IFR clear.
Norwich Tower, Speedbird 66 IFR to Schiphol, ready to copy.
Speedbird 66 is cleared to Schiphol Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 27 climb and maintain 13,000 feet. Departure frequency is 118.475 squawk 051 tree.
Speedbird 66 cleared to Schiphol Airport as filed. Takeoff runway 27 climb and maintain 13,000 feet. Departure on 118.475 squawk 051 tree.
Speedbird 66 readback is correct. Contact ground on 124.255 when ready to taxi. Good day.
For some reason, there is no pushback tug available here, even though we know there have them. There's one just driving off into the distance. So we have to normally do it on reverse thrust, but we'll see if there's one today.
Norwich ground, Speedbird 66.
And I just pressed the button. My mouse got stuck on the edge of the
Speedbird
mouse.
66, a fuel truck is on the road.
No, we don't want one. Sorry about that, mate.
Norwich ground, Speedbird 66 requesting pushback.
Norwich ground, Speedbird 66, no pushback tug is available to answer your request.
As usual.
Norwich ground, Speedbird
So we'll go for our
66,
pre-start up in a sec.
ready to taxi IFR.
Squawk is set, takeoff briefing is
Speedbird 66
checked.
taxi to and hold short of runway 27 using taxiway Alpha. Contact tower on 124.255 when ready.
Taxi to and hold short runway 27 using taxiway Alpha, Speedbird 66.
Parking brake is off, manual brake is, foot brake is on. AP master. Front is on. APU master is on. 3 second wait. And APU start. Bleed is APU on. Packs 1 and 2 off. External power will be off once APU is started. MCDU weights are inserted. MCDU takeoff has been checked. Free speeds are set. And air conditioning will be set once we've got the APU on. Windows and doors are closed and locked. Cockpit door is locked. APU is running. AP generator is available. And excellent power is off. Steering panel has been removed and stowed. Beacon is on. Wing light is on. And runway turn is on. TCAS is set. Transponder is on auto. And park and brake is cleared. Engine switch to start. Fuel pumps on. Starting number 2. Clock is on. It is available, starting number 1. Engine 1 is available, select it to none. APU bleed is off and APU itself is off. Packs 1 and 2 are back on. Anti-ice is not required. Okay, pre-taxi. Auto brake to max. Okay, we have a fail on the master brake, on the auto brake. No idea why. That's because the foot brake was on. Okay, that's a new one. Auto brake to max, spoilers are. Flaps to 2. Anti-ice is not required. Flow controls have been checked. I'm going to check them again. Oh, sorry, the flight controls have been checked externally. Yep, checks out okay in there. And pitch trim is set to 0, and rudder trim is set to 0. Okay, we are okay to taxi. There's light. Extending the landing lights. Runway turns are on. Strobe is on auto. And parking brake is off, foot brake is on, take a config check. All blue clear except for cabin. We'll notify cabin in a sec.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
So like I said, there's no help here, we have to do reverse thrust basically. But it's a truck. Normally it's a truck. Or a van. Well, it's definitely not another aircraft, so we have priority, so I don't understand what's going on. Yeah, we're waiting for nothing.
Speedbird 66. Position Speedbird 66.
There is nothing there, what the hell? I think I'm going to have to know that one. Oh look, there's that tug they said didn't exist. Yeah, so they held me for a tug, and now there's a Cessna that's set off I set off well before it, and now it's blocking my way, so obviously they don't tell the other people to stop doing what they're doing.
Speedbird 66, continue taxi. Speedbird 66, hold position, caution, other traffic. Speedbird 66, continue taxi.
Make your mind up, mate. What on earth?
Speedbird 66, please acknowledge.
Roger, Speedbird 66.
What the hell is that guy doing? Interesting to see that none of the ATC are talking to the AI aircraft. So I have no idea what they're up to. It's a bit of a shame. So takeoff config check again. And we're nubbly.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
So we're going to do our before takeoff check. Camera crew is notified, exterior lights are all on. Check. Nose is set to take off. Anti-ice and PEX are as required. TCAS is set, weather radar on. Windshield is on. And set to go. We are ready to go.
Norwich Tower, Speedbird 66, ready for IFR departure, runway 27.
Speedbird 66, QNH 29er, 1 wind 241 at 20. Cleared for takeoff, runway 27.
Cleared for takeoff, runway 27, Speedbird 66.
It's nice to see the blue arrows are still pointing us into a field though for some reason. If you don't know the airport and you come here at night, that would be a bit of a shame. Because you will end up at that field. It's a lovely field. Flap set, spoiler set, brake set, let's go. Gear is up. Flaps to 1. Flaps to 0. And throttle to the climb out.
Speedbird 66 contact London Center on 118.475. Good day.
118.475 Speedbird 66.
Flaps are retracted. Gear is up. Spoilers to autopilot is set. And nursery lights and exterior lights off. I forgot to start the crown up, so they have the start body.
London Center Speedbird 66 is passing 7,800 feet, climbing 13,000 feet.
Speedbird 66 London Center QNH 29.991 continues abandonment plan. Speedbird 66 climb and maintain flight level 230.
Yes, I was putting it in the dial, you impatient thing.
Climb and maintain flight level 230 Speedbird 66.
So,
Speedbird
that's...
66 climb and maintain flight level 250.
Okay.
Climb and maintain flight level 250 Speedbird 66.
So we're on our way. Everything checks out okay, and we're on our way to a lovely Schiphol. We're going to go 2518, so I'll just hit the standard now. One less thing to do in a minute. And we're going through clouds, so I'm going to put the anti-ice on. Shouldn't need it, but just in case, it's always best. Wind shear's off. Okay. Wind shear's back on again. That's very important. Very, very, very important. So, it's been a year. What a year. We've had world updates 1 to 5. We've had sim updates 1 to 5. We've had hot fixes for things that sim updates and world updates broke. But in general, things are much better than they were. It's a bit of a shame that they've concentrated solely upon Europe for the meantime, but as a lot of the flyers are in Europe, then it makes more sense. One of the things I'm totally amazed with is how beautiful things look. And now that we've got a good frame rate as well for us lower end users, that really has made a massive difference. using the livery today I'm using is the Neo original livery that came with the sim. Normally I fly British Airways livery, but it's a special day today. It's the sim's birthday, so it gets preference. I'm still using the TTMB tailwind or TTNC, as we are a speedbird flight. And apologies, that is very loud, I know. So, I mean, the things I remember most, I suppose, are strange things like the autopilot that would suddenly decide to go in a circle to the left. You'd be flying along, you'd come towards a waypoint, and it'd just suddenly put you into a left circle that was so tight, the aircraft would bank over to 50 degrees, and if you weren't quick enough, it would quickly lose speed and height and crash into the ground. So yeah, that was a bad one. That was fixed eventually. I think Sim Update 2 or 3 fixed that. We also had the classic. Now this is my favourite one, I think, of all time. As you flew in towards an airport and you came into land, suddenly everything would go black. Your engine would turn off, your systems would turn off, the batteries would turn off, your aircraft would go dark and there'd be nothing working. You couldn't get out any of the you couldn't get out the emergency generator, you couldn't get out the ramjet, nothing. So you would literally have a minute and a half to try and land, and there was never anywhere to land, especially flying to Schiphol. It's just lots of Amsterdam and people's houses. So invariably you just find a bit of land to crash into, and that'd be the end of that one. It turned out that was caused by AI aircraft, and somehow they'd managed to link AI aircraft to your aircraft. So as you got within 5 miles of an airport, in a sort of a dome around it, that would just link your aircraft to the AI aircraft. So if you were in an A320 and the AI was in an A320, whatever they did would happen to your aircraft. So of course, if they just landed and turned everything off, you'd just get all your stuff turned off. You'd be flying towards the airport, or you'd be just taking off, and you'd see things getting gauges turned and knobs turned and stuff doing stuff that you weren't actually doing yourself. That was very, very bizarre. That was quickly fixed though. And by quickly I mean 2 to 3 weeks. What else was there? Oh, the wiggle. So you'd be flying along on autopilot like this in cruise, and the aircraft would just start wiggling left and right, shimmying basically. So the left wing would dip and the right wing would go up, and then it'd reverse, and they'd get faster and faster and faster and faster. And then it'd just sit there going boop all the way along your flight. That was very, very bizarre. That got fixed as well. And then there were the scenery obvious problems. Water heights that were wrong, bridges that weren't there, stuff that was underwater that shouldn't be. Mounds of earth that were like a mile high because they're not really that big. Yeah, but you know, these things got fixed fairly quickly, and in general it's a wonderful sim now. Of course I don't want my money back. It's money well spent. It's going to give me 10 to 15 years of enjoyment. I'm happy with what I've got. I've got an A320 Neo, everything works just about. We've got an A380 coming as well for free, and yeah, it's great. One of the big changes though is the free stuff, the community folder. In FSX we had stuff that was made by the community, and it had some of it had very complicated ways of getting into the sim. And the problem was that if you put it in the sim, things got overwritten in your game files, and sometimes you had no choice but if you didn't like it or it didn't work properly, it would mess up perhaps your game, and if you wanted to take it out again, you'd have to remove the files you'd put in and replace the ones that it had changed. So that was a very long, complicated process of watching what an installer did or drag and drop stuff in, and you'd have to copy out the stuff that you wanted to not change. So If, for example, it changed all the sky textures, you'd have to back up copies of all the sky textures. So I had directory upon directory, like 10 or 11 directories of stuff that was backed up.
Maintain flight level 370.
A37. A37.
Climb and maintain flight level 370, Speedbird 66.
So you'd have 11 directories of stuff that was backed up, and each of those was an incremental backup, so that if you wanted to go back to pre-1 program, so say you installed some new weather app, if that weather app was the 4th install, and then you'd install things afterwards,
And maintain flight level 230.
yeah, we've reached the top, now we're coming down again.
Descend and maintain flight level 230, Speedbird 66.
So it became quite difficult sometimes to go back to where you'd come from, because they're incremental, and you'd have to remove programs and mods and aircraft and stuff that you put in. Remove the one that was number 4, and then re-put in all the stuff that was after it, 5, 6, 7 and 8 again, all the way through to 11. It was an absolute nightmare. The most wonderful thing about this was the community folder, where you just put it in the community folder. If it doesn't work, you don't like it, you can just take it out again by deleting it. Just delete anything that's in the community folder, and it's back to the stock. It's absolutely brilliant. The downside is that there's a marketplace, so whereas people before would make stuff for the community and they'll be free, most of them are now trying to charge for their work, which is okay, I guess, but some of the things they're charging for are like port overs from 2004 and from FSX that are not really worth paying for. And a lot of the stuff in the marketplace is just far too expensive. I mean, paying 50-60 quid for one aircraft is ridiculous. Yeah, but it's learning level, it's proper, you know, it's like a real simulator. I don't care. 60 quid is far too much. If they were 15, 20 quid, that's much more like it.
Contact Amsterdam Center on 119.175. Good day.
119.175, Speedbird 66. Amsterdam Center, Speedbird 66, flight level 230.
Speedbird 66 Amsterdam Center, continue as planned. Speedbird 66 descend and maintain 9,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 9,000 feet, Speedbird 66.
Yeah, so obviously a lot of it started off at high prices, and much of it's now been reduced. And people would do things like making scenery of Germany and France, knowing there was going to be a world update from the actual Microsoft Sim people, and then charging for it, and then finding out later that they'd done something that was just been updated and made better. So it's got a bit silly to some degree, but it has killed that community spirit. In the old days, you'd go and look at 3 or 4, 5 websites that you knew were good for community stuff, trusted for aircraft, etc, etc. And they've all fallen by the wayside, and we've got new ones coming in with the new blood, I guess. Some of them are okay, and some of them aren't so good. Yeah, he didn't tell me what the QNH was, which is a bit of a shame. So, you know, we've adapted. We've got a couple of websites we use, like flightsim.to, and some people have started their own websites, like the PMP people. And I've got their 330 and their 320, which are ports from FSX. But some of the FSX stuff came out post 2012, 2015. And some of that stuff is absolutely beautiful. The Lufthansa 380 that came out a couple of years ago. That's just a stunning aircraft. Unfortunately, it's not been ported over to this one yet. And anyway, we've got the fly-by-wire people who are doing the A380, and that'll be out soon, hopefully. Maybe in the next 3 or 4 months. And I'm quite happy to wait for that because a lot of people aren't using the 380 anymore. It's not really the current aircraft. The 330-300 though, by the PMP people. Sorry, that's the Mega Pack people who released the delivery Mega Pack that came out. I'll get into that in a second. That is a beautiful aircraft. I use it a lot for missions, as I call it, because it's one of those aircraft that a lot of airlines use around the world still. Qantas, Air France, British Airways, not so much. But yeah, it's widely used South America, long haul, Africa, Asia. So yeah, it's nice to fly that every now and again. And it is basically a massive 320, so yeah, it causes us to. I like to fly the Air France one around Europe. So what else? We had the first helicopter ever in the flight sim. That was started within a couple of months of the flight sim coming out. The H135, absolutely wonderful thing. I fly that regularly. It was so nice to have that. All these people are going, no, yeah, it wouldn't be any good because it's not payware. Sorry people, but just because you pay for something doesn't make it good. I had a discussion with someone years ago who knows who they are because they're family. And the discussion was, I've got a take-hire watch. And my point was, yeah, but I've got one from a garage that costs £2.50. And when you lose your take-hire watch, it's going to cost you another £600 to replace. If I lose this one from the garage, it costs me £2.50 to replace. And he lost his take-hire watch, and for the same price as his 2 take-hire watches, I could have brought, I don't know, what was it, 500 watches from the garage and kept me going from the whole of my life. Sometimes money isn't the best thing in the world. At the end of the day, they both tell the time, and I can guarantee you, my one would have told it much better because it was digital, so yeah. Not as nice looking, but you know, you don't buy a watch to look nice.
40 miles west. Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 27 approach via Schiphol transition. Clear to Schiphol.
Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. Expect ILS runway 27 approach via Schiphol transition. Cleared to Schiphol. Speedbird 66.
So yeah, we're going to come in from Schiphol. I'll call it Schiphol, but it is Schiphol, I guess. Schiphol for Schiphol. So we're down 7,000. I'm going to start slowing the aircraft down now. It's a rather steep bank.
Speedbird 66, keep speed not above 220 knots.
There we go.
Keep speed not above 220 knots. Speedbird 66.
So we're getting close now, and I'm going to get the passengers to sit down here. Don't need the IDs anymore. So, big changes, world updates, they are with us. Oh wow. The scenery updates and the world updates have been absolutely brilliant. It's made things look so much better around Europe when you're travelling around. and the updates to the airports that they've done really do mean things like I was telling you about the taxiways have been so much more improved. We've also had some new aircraft given us recently. We've had float plane versions of the 172 and a couple of other things have been changed, so we've got like 45 aircraft now or something. It's really nice. Other free aircraft, I was telling you about the H135 that
Approach on 118.405. Good day.
Going to 118.405 Speedbird 66. Schiphol approach Speedbird 66 is at 10,500 feet, descending 7,000 feet.
Speedbird 66 Schiphol approach QNH 29.991 continue to Sierra Papa Lima and land.
I'm going to descend much quicker because we're a bit high. Digital descent checklist. GCAS is set. Approach briefing is complete. Navigator will set and review. Hand chart is not required. EFIS is set to constraint. Seatbelt signs are on. Perimeter is set. And the below 10,000 feet, we need the lights on. Seatbelt signs are on. Landing lights and wing lights on. Okay, all lights on. Descent list complete. Which leaves us with the sim updates. The sim updates have been amazing. They've really have changed things. We had a couple of problems, like I say. These issues got remedied fairly quickly. The weirdest one was I was taxiing behind an A380, which of course, because no one's made one yet, that can only be inside the sim, so it was an AI A380. And when it turned right, I couldn't turn left, I could only turn right. And sometimes when I was not turning right, I'd suddenly start to veer off to the right as it turned right. And when it turned left, I couldn't turn right, I could only turn left. But of course no one knew what was going on, and there's so few of us had that problem that it didn't really get any traction when it came to getting it fixed or reported back to me. But it is fixed and everything works fine now, and that's the best way it could possibly be. And I'm flying here, no problems, no issues, everything's working fine. Absolutely wonderful. Hours of fun. Brilliant. Thank you. It's been a year of absolute amazement. So many differing opinions in the forums, but you know, people have their own opinions, so they're entitled to them, be they right or wrong. Usually wrong, of course. And yeah, I'm going to concentrate on the landing now. Flaps are on. Time for landing checks. EFIS is set. terrain is not required. It's fairly flat in Holland. Holland is the northern part of the Netherlands, by the way. So,
Six descent and maintain 3,000 feet.
just check that, it's 3,000.
Descend and maintain 3,000 feet, Speedbird 66.
Exterior lights are all on. Nose wheel lights are set. Auto brake set. Spoiler arm. Flaps for landing. Well, we're on 1, so we'll do that in a sec. And landing memo should be no problem. It's a shame we can't get ATIS at this point, which should be good. It'd be nice to be able to connect to the ATIS radar as soon as we arrive at Schiphol and find out what the actual QNH is from DR landing, but you know, that's one of the things. I guess we should use the little pad and sim brief so we can get a head reading, but it'd be better if we could actually do it through the game rather than to depend on outside systems. A little bit of cloud, doesn't appear to be any wind shear.
KLM 1410, you are 500 feet above your assigned altitude. Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. QNH 29.901.
A little bit of other traffic, but not too busy, which is good.
Descend and maintain 7,000 feet. KLM 1410. KLM 1410, keep speed, not above 220 knots.
Flaps to 2. And gear down. And speed.
Speedbird 6 descent and maintain 2,000 feet.
Descend and maintain 2,000 feet, Speedbird 66.
Flaps to 3.
$2,500.
Flight
27,000
attendants,
feet.
please prepare for
VOR
landing.
DMB runway 27 approach via river transition. Clear to river.
So we are 8 miles out.
Climb and maintain 7,000
Looking
feet.
good.
Expect VOR DME runway 27 approach via river transition cleared to river KLM1 train 14.
All lights are on.
66, you are 9 miles east of Schiphol.
Spoilers on. Flaps are
Contact
full.
Schiphol Tower on 118.281 inbound.
Brake is set. Okay, we're good to go. Just gonna wait now and catch the Glideslope once we go across them. And hopefully we'll be okay then to from here. I'm not sure if, because there was a little bit of an issue.
Did you hear my last transmission?
Tower on 118.28, Speedbird 66. Schiphol Tower, Speedbird 66, 8 miles east, inbound ILS runway 27 approach.
Speedbird 66 Schiphol Tower. QNH 29.9 wind 250 at 19er. Cleared ILS, runway 27 approach.
Cleared ILS runway 27 approach, Speedbird 66.
So we're cleared in, we've got a CAT III ILS lock, and the aircraft is in control. Looks like it's lined up. There was an issue recently with some airports that were about 200-300 feet offset to the left or right of the runway when you came in an ILS. But Schiphol also handmade one, so it looks to be fairly good.
Speedbird 66 wind 260 at 19er. Cleared to land runway 27.
Cleared to land runway 27, Speedbird 66.
So in we go. At the end of this video I'll put a card to link to the videos I made in those first few days. Oh,
1,000.
such a difference, such a difference. The stress levels, the confusion, oh, absolute nightmare. But yeah, wonderful now.
Hundred above.
T-Watchy red. Good to land.
500.
And we are going to land.
400. 300. 200. 100. 50. 40. 30. 20. 10. Retard.
Schiphol Tower, KLM 183
Retard.
211 miles east, inbound for DME runway
Retard.
27 approach.
Retard.
KLM 183 to Schiphol Tower. QNH 29.9 wind 260 at 19er. Cleared VOR DME runway 27 approach.
Cleared VOR DME runway 27 approach, KLM 1832.
Speedbird 66 contact ground on 121.9er 05
Taxiing to 121.905 Speedbird 66. Schiphol ground, Speedbird 66 request taxi to the gate.
Speedbird 66 taxi to gate Delta 44 via taxiway November 3 Alpha 14 Alpha Alpha 9 Charlie.
Taxiing to gate Delta 44 via taxiway November 3 Alpha 14 Alpha Alpha 9 Charlie Speedbird 66.
Speedbird 66 hold position, caution other traffic. Speedbird 66 continue taxi.
Jesus Christ.
Roger, Speedbird 66.
I mean, that's one thing they do need to fix. We have priority over ground vehicles, so they shouldn't be making us stop for ground vehicles. And flaps are set to 1. Outside air temperature is above, it's above 4, and it's below 30, so there shouldn't be any problem. We should set them to 1. We know there's an issue when... Yeah, we should set them to 1 because we know there's an issue when the air temperature is below 4 degrees centigrade. You can get ice in there, which if you try and close the flaps will mess up the spoilers on the front. And again, above 30 degrees centigrade, there's a little vent hole in there which if you close the flaps of spoilers fully, that means that it will block the vent and give you false readings and set off alarms. But we should be okay, so we're back to 1. I usually get a little guy with batons here, but I guess that was one of the problems with the frame rate, so they've got rid of him. It's a real shame because I can't see my nose wheel, so I don't know what it's on the spot, but it's about now. So parking brake is on, that's off, flaps are in. All lights off. External power connected.
Schiphol ground, Speedbird 66. Could you please connect the jetway to the aircraft?
Speedbird 66, the jetway is going to be connected.
Door is open.
Schiphol ground, Speedbird 66. Could you please send the baggage?
Speedbird 66, we don't know where the baggage is.
That's not good. They don't know where the baggage is. It's inside the aircraft, matey boy. If you look down the right hand side underneath, there's this little hatch thing that you can get into and pull it out from. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, I'm going to turn the aircraft off. So, a successful flight. That's very strange. I should just not do that because it's on external power. Never mind. I'm not going to bother resetting the aircraft. Thank you for watching, and it's been a wonderful year. Hopefully this next year will be even better. We'll get world updates for the rest of Eurasia. Hopefully some for China especially, because I've flown around some of the dams like the Three Gorges Dam, and the water levels are just all over the place, hundreds and 200 feet up and down. And if you fly around the boat lift on the Three Gorges Dam, don't try and fly into it because that won't work, it'll just make you explode. I found that out the hard way. But yeah, I'm looking forward to next year, looking forward to the next 3 years. Thank you everyone for all your hard work, and it's been a wonderful time. Let's hope we can keep the community spirit going. All the differences we have, put them aside, and let's just look at this as a wonderful sim with some wonderful aircraft and a wonderful environment. Happy birthday to everyone.